What if Tank Davis, who can punch, who is a hell of a fighter, who is a top 10 pound for pound fighter, what if he lands a punch on this bigger guy's chin, right? Who's not a professional fighter? What happens?
But if they do it for real, Tank is highly capable of taking Jake Paul out. So the exhibitions that I like to see are ones that either I can look at and say, wow, well, if he would have did that back when he was 10 years younger or 8 years or 12 years ago, he would have beat him. You know what I mean? Because we know boxing.
Which if he hits you because he's so accurate, he's gonna drop you, or could put you to sleep. But like not necessarily power punch. Like Edwin De Los Santos is a hard hitter. He would even have a hard time with rollies. I'm not even kidding.
Boxing legends are united. Gervonta Tank Davis will destroy Jake Paul in just 3 rounds. Analyst Gareth A. Davis pointed out how Tank remained calm and unbothered during the press conference, refusing to bite on Jake's trash talk about his height. He believes Tank's silence isn't fear, it's focus. Once that first bell rings, Davis predicts Tank will unleash a violent storm of explosive combinations that will shut Jake Paul up for good and prove why he's elite.
Went about that,
he reminded me of Northern football fan being dragged to a shopping centre on a Saturday afternoon rather than being allowed to go to his favourite Liverpool. I relate to that, won't you?
Yeah.
And it was almost like he'd been shackled and dragged there against his will. Even when they faced off, it was as if Jake Paul had a bad smell about him or something. He didn't want to get near Jake Paul. He didn't want to. I'm just going to plug this in as well. Plugged in. It's almost as if he didn't want to indulge anyone at all. Like he signed up against his will, and then like he'd been signed up against his will. The agents and his manager and his handler dragged him there without briefing him on what was going on and where it would be and what time it would take place. And there was this oath in his mind standing there in front of him, this big oath. He kept posturing, and it just didn't do anything to him. I wondered at one point whether he was going to burst out with a combination of punches or something and just drop Jake Paul, who was being, measuring him up and going down to his height, and it was all very peculiar in my view. Like he really wasn't taking it seriously.
Ryan Garcia didn't hold back when speaking about the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, calling it an outright insult to boxing. He slammed the matchup for being built on unfair size and weight differences, arguing that it's not a real contest but a social media spectacle designed for clicks and cash. According to Ryan, boxing should be about discipline, legacy, and skill, not influencer drama or hype-driven events. He expressed frustration that a smaller, naturally lighter fighter like Davis has to face a physically bigger opponent in Jake Paul just for entertainment's sake. To him, that's not competition, it's exploitation. Ryan warned that this type of event sends the wrong message to young fighters, that fame and money matter more than honor and hard work. He prioritizes the integrity of boxing, and he believes that this fight, regardless of its popularity, is a mockery of the values that true boxers uphold.
Mainly Jake's, and we're not falling for the Disney Channel bit no more. We're not falling for you're not a fighter no more. We're not falling for that. You're ranked as a cruiserweight and you're out here trying to fight a lightweight. And then on top of it, you were just talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. That doesn't make no sense. And I just felt like it was a disgrace to boxing, and kind of it was not a good move by Jake Paul. I understand people saying, Gervonta got to go get his money, blah, blah, blah. But, like, we're not talking about that shit. We're talking about the sport, bro. We're not talking about, you got to get that money, bro. Yeah, but everybody's open to criticism. That's the whole point of this media shit. Right. That's why they talk about basketball players. They don't talk about, LeBron's making too much. Like, nobody cares, bro. LeBron's missing the shot. He's missing the fucking shot. So, at the end of the day, bro, I just thought it was a disgrace to the sport. Because on one end, you got the casuals, right? The casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. Yeah. And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter. Yeah. And to me, that's just it's tricking the public, and it's kind of bullshit, bro, at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, if Gervonta was Jake Paul's size, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. There probably wouldn't even be a fight.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I just think that it's a disgrace to boxing.
Well, we got to play devil's advocate because people were saying, well, Ryan, you called out Jake Paul before too, so how would you say that? What do you have to say to the people that were saying that?
Well, I'm way bigger than Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis is 5'4", and his last fight was at 133. My last fight was 147. I walk around 170. So, I mean, 170 to 190, whatever, however big is not too much difference. But you got Gervonta Davis, he's actually really small. Like, when I fought him, like, he's small.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very unfair fight. Nobody was complaining when Jake Paul was fighting Julio Cesar Chavez.
Right.
Nobody was complaining when he's fighting Anthony Joshua. And I still think Jake Paul's a cool dude. But shit, he's called me out on my shit. I'm gonna call him out on his shit, bro. That's a fucking disgrace of a fight.
Yeah.
You know it. Just like the Mike Tyson low key was a disgrace, but we accepted it.
Yeah.
He was 60 years old. I mean,
Right.
what the f are we talking about here?
That's crazy.
Shawn Porter views the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul fight through the lens of a seasoned veteran, seeing it as a symbol of boxing's new direction, one he doesn't like. He believes today's fighters are more obsessed with fast paydays than building lasting legacies. In his eyes, Gervonta "Tank" Davis has joined the growing list of boxers chasing money over meaningful challenges. Porter reflects on how legends of the past risked their undefeated records for greatness, seeking glory instead of quick cash. Now, he says, brand deals, social media fame, and viral moments have replaced the hunger for history. Porter makes it clear that Tank remains one of the most gifted fighters on the planet, but he's disappointed to see him wasting that potential on sideshow fights rather than defining matchups. For Porter, this isn't just about Tank. It's about a money-driven era that's slowly stripping away boxing's heart and soul.
Why are you doing that? How do you sort of see this scenario now for him?
Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about it, what to really say about it. I've only been asked this when it's presented to me. That's when I think about it, and I can't really come up with a good answer for it. In a lot of ways, it doesn't make sense to me. Of course, we know the size differential, and the kind of list goes on from there. I don't know, man. I think we're entering a generation now, or a phase now where fighters. I don't know. I don't know if it's fighters. I don't know if he doesn't care about the legacy, or if he feels like this fight doesn't matter. I'll get back to the legacy. I just don't know. This is truly not. It's not a legacy fight, but of course it is a generational money fight, so.
Many boxing analysts argue that the real issue isn't just with fighters like Jake Paul or Gervonta Davis. It's with the audience itself. They believe modern fans have turned boxing into a circus, feeding the demand for drama over discipline. True technical bouts between elite fighters barely make headlines anymore, while flashy influencer fights dominate every feed. Analysts blame social media's short attention span for this shift, claiming it has turned boxing from a sport of skill into a spectacle of stunts. The Jake Paul phenomenon, they say, isn't just his doing, it's the audience rewarding chaos instead of craft. When fans tune in only for viral knockouts or trash talk, real boxers lose motivation to chase legacy fights. The line between legitimate competition and staged entertainment keeps fading, with champions fighting for belts and influencers fighting for clicks. As long as fans keep paying for the circus, the sport's soul will keep slipping away.
Thing has evolved to where it's at. I'll expand on that. For one, you have good fights where I'm not talking about these type of fights, crossover type of fight, former Disney guy, influencer stuff. Not. And Jake Paul has really promoted himself and acquitted himself to the point where he's kind of a boxer. Now, he hasn't fought the top names. I get it, blah, blah, blah. But he's doing his thing. He's training like a boxer. He's not like taking it lightly, like streaming and then working on his YouTube more than he's working on his boxing. It is what it is, right? But beyond that, let's keep it going. I told you I'm about to really get unpacked. Subscribe to the channel. The reality is, the reason why I'm saying I blame you, the fans, is because we've had some very good fights, like David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, whatever. I'm talking in the last 5-10 years, right? Very good fights, all boxing. So not talking influencer or any type of crossover fight, right? Good fights and then you got boxing fans in a niche sport who didn't further the exposure by advertising or buying the fight, mostly buying the fight with piracy and whatnot. So now we're at a point in this society where these companies, they're like, all right, they see the piracy is a problem. Now they're looking for sure shot, must win type of scenarios. That's why we're getting these fights that some people, purists and diehards, are calling wonky fights. You know what I mean? It is your fault.
Eddie Griffin's raw perspective might sound harsh, but it hits home for many fans who see modern boxing turning into entertainment theater rather than real warfare. He believes the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight is more about protecting business interests than proving who's the better fighter. To him, these so-called mega events are Hollywood productions, every punch, every pause, and even every knockout potentially scripted to keep profits high. He points out that Mike Tyson's exhibition fight showed the same trend, controlled chaos for cash. Griffin insists that if Jake Paul gets knocked out too soon, the hype train stops, but if he lasts longer, the drama and the money doubles. He calls it the perfect hustle disguised as combat. Still, he admits the truth every fan knows deep down. People will tune in anyway.
Why?
Because controversy sells more than courage. No matter how much boxing purists complain, the mixture of fame, danger, and spectacle keeps the cameras rolling and the audience glued to their screens. Whether this fight becomes a defining moment or a manufactured show, one thing's for sure, it's going to shake the sport from the ground up. This isn't just a match, it's a clash between legacy and entertainment, between fighters who bleed for glory and those who cash in on chaos. If you're ready for more explosive breakdowns, wild predictions, and raw boxing truth, smash that like button, subscribe for more fire content, and share this video with every fight fan you know.